president like this, because next semester Doug Hogue will be the chair of the ACM. So he's our vice chair right now. So we're going to start with an opening prayer. Somebody like to give that? Opening prayer? No? Do you know what that is? Anybody? Yes, please.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day and for the opportunity we have to be at this wonderful university, for all the teachers who support us and teach us. And we ask a blessing that as we meet this day, that thy Spirit may attend to us and may enlighten our minds and provide understanding to us. For these things we pray in Jesus Christ.
Amen. Amen. All right. So, here's some events that are happening tomorrow. Here's some events that are happening today. So I'd like to talk to you about them. And also last committee reports and presentation. All right? So we've got a LAN party. I showed you guys about this 2 weeks ago because we didn't have an ACM meeting last week. That's because we were planning and plotting how to do these things. So the LAN party. Yeah, this is the right version. RSVP, because it's important. There's release because you're going to be bringing your gear over there, and we need to know exactly what your power requirements are, how many LAN cables we might need, if we can get them. No guarantees. We're going to try to make a special Wi-Fi network. The link is colon.li/ACM. And this is case sensitive. It's going to happen at Friday, 7:30 in the Man-Waring Center. It's at the top floor. It's in the little theater. It's a big room. We have a gigantic, awesome projector that we're going to try to hook into. And so I'd love it if people signed up and came. We've got so far, last checked, 12 people. And the top game that people want to play right now is StarCraft 2. That's the biggest intersection of games that people have said that they are willing to play. We also have about 2 people that have Overwatch that want to play. I'm going to be bringing my big desktop. I haven't used it for video games forever, but it can play practically anything on the market right now, so that's fine. Yes?
Do you need any other equipment, like routers or switches or anything?
So switches will be great because that way when we have a centralized router that is enabling us to get access to the full internet, because campus, the switches will allow us to have more LAN cables available to us. If you have LAN cables or an excess of LAN cables, bring them because we can't bring all the LAN cables. If you have a screen, bring the screen. We have only 4 screens so far listed on the event page, the RSVP. I'm keeping track. I'm looking at all the metrics and stuff. And so I'm trying to make sure. They've got a lot of people bringing laptops. That's great. So that's the news for LAN Party. Are there any other questions? Who wants to come? Who's interested in it? All right. So yeah.
I have to figure out something with one of my classes.
That link right there, guys. You have to sign up there so that way we can be prepared. We've got to order pizza. We've got to get drinks. We've got to get food and blow our budget. And so, well, we're not really going to blow our budget, but we're spending a lot of money on this and this. Tomorrow, we are having a party for the entire department. All of the different societies, Amateur Radio Society, ACM, Biomedical Engineering Society, and IEEE, they are going to be putting on this event. It's to finish off the semester. We've ordered 125 hamburger patties from a butcher, not from the store. So we're getting them like freshly made, so you're not getting some week-old crap. And we're going to be getting like the fixings from Brolum's, and we've got tons of soda already. I don't remember how much. And we've got cups and chips. I mean, it's in my apartment right now. So if you guys want to come, that's great. Right now, 87 people have RSVP'd for this event. And that link is RSVP.
It's ACM somewhere. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, you can write it too. And so we've invited the faculty. some of them are going to be there, like Brother Helfrich and others. I just know faculty. I'm a very busy guy. So I want to just review about how this thing went over, how ACM went over this semester. We've had more attendance for ACM than we have had for any other ACM previously in previous semesters. This is actually quite impressive. We didn't get to accomplish everything that we wanted to. That's because it took too long for some people to get into a position where they could execute certain things, and it was too late in the semester too. For example, we wanted to do a project, we wanted to launch CodeSpace earlier than we did. There's some advantages and disadvantages. But I thought it was really good, and John Olberberry was great because he put together a ton of awesome presentations that everybody benefited from. And we had the communications committee, and they made sure that things were broadcasted on the internet. There are some things that I want to go back and watch, but I don't have the time to, but now I'll be able to because it's online. Like, for example, Brother Helfrich's presentation go on the technical interview. It's actually way more useful than presentation from the Career Center down there where they just talk about the social interviews. So, any final things you want to say?
Like, nothing next week. You guys can go home.
Nothing next week. Projects and activities. Doug isn't here. He had to go to a wedding and he's still catching up. Online committee.
So we finalized the style guide, mostly thanks to Josh over here.
Josh is awesome. Good job.
Also the logo, the long skinny logo, won. So we're working on getting the stickers.
Okay. Are you going to do that this semester or next semester?
We'll probably have them ready for next semester.
Okay. So next semester's budget. I have more money to spend on the LAN party. Are you willing to come? So maybe I'll get, like, instead of Little Caesars, I'll get Domino's.
Oh.
We'll see. See, Alan isn't here, but if he was here, he would say, so the last Steam gift card, we haven't given it out yet. There isn't another code space to give it out at, so at some point, somehow, and I have no idea what the criteria is because I'm not the organizer exactly for the LAN party. I've done a lot of it, but not like, I'm not going to be administrating over that in person. I'll be there, but I won't be in charge. The Steam gift card of $25, I believe it's, or is it 20? It's $20, will be a prize for some sort of achievement over at the LAN party. So that is something to expect. It's another reason why you should come, not just for the food, even though there's food. All right? So, like I said at the beginning, next semester I won't be ACM president. I won't be here. I'll be interning at Family Search. But Doug Hope will be ACM president. And the first ACM meetings agenda will be to organize the new leadership. So if you guys are interested on becoming the next vice chair, and then subsequently in the next semester the next president, then get involved and speak up on that day. There's going to be a lot. He's going to have some sort of vision for ACM for that semester, and that will be great. You should be there for that. And I bet a lot of people felt like it was very fulfilling to be part of such a cool society. I think it was cool, personally. I'm biased. All right, so we'll start the presentation. We've got Thomas Knox. I can't get names right. Don't forgive me, please. Thomas Knox is giving a presentation on game development with Unity. And so if you guys are all interested, which since you're here you are, this is a great way for you to figure out what to do for a summer project. So I'll turn the time over to him.
Hey everyone, my name is Thomas Knox. I am a computer science sophomore here at BYU-Idaho, and I like to make video games. That's why I'm here. So just a little bit about myself and how I got started. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, my mom and I had this E-Machines desktop running Windows 98, and there was this book that taught you how to automate tasks using batch files. And one of the chapters focused on displaying text and accepting, input. So I decided to make tic-tac-toe. Obviously, it wasn't very good. I was like 6 years old. You could only put X's. There was no win checking. Worst game ever. In 5th grade, I found out about RPG Maker 2003. If you're unfamiliar with it, it lets you make Final Fantasy style games without programming. I thought it was amazing. Put it on a floppy disk, brought it home, played with it. And a little bit later, RPG Maker XP came out. And the difference than its predecessor is that it gave you access to the engine, well, not the engine, but the game source code. It's RGSS, similar to Ruby, terrible to work with. And I liked it so much, I spent the next few years off and on making Pokemon games. And if you ask my wife, my friends, my family, they're going to tell you, oh yeah, all those crappy Pokemon games Thomas tried to get me to play over and over again. That was my RPG Maker phase. Later, a little bit in high school, mostly after I got into Unity, and I've fallen in love with it, haven't used anything else since. My first game was Retired Knight for the Game Boy Jam 4. Ugly little game, terrible collisions, horrible animations. It was fun though. You walked around, killed chickens, bats pooped on you. It was fun. And then next, Mutant Chicken Death Jam for the Ludum Dare 35. One of the largest game jams in the world. Only had 2 days to make it. I had a good friend do all the art. That's why it looks so much better. And you play it as a chicken in space, killing aliens with a news gun that made fart noises. Pretty fun. This game's a huge step up. And and the reason why it's just a better game overall is because it has game feel, and I'll go into a little bit more about that later. Most recent game was Chirp. It was an adventure platformer for the Adventure Jam 2016. I decided to go a different route with this one. A lot of the games entered into this 2-week jam were text-based adventures, point and clicks. I decided to go with physics platformer instead, where you play as a little bird and you die on thorns. It's graphic. It's awesome. And so, in game development, you need tools because you have to work with audio, you have to work with sound, you have to work with music, graphics. And so for just some audio tools, we have Audacity and Austin Audio. These are for editing. They're free, open source. I'm going to include, when I get home, I'm going to upload the PowerPoint and share the link on Slack so you guys can download it. You can have all these links. Some other Sunbox Misagi, these are for creating more chiptune style tracks, and the BFXR and Lab Chirp, these are for sound effects. And then for the art, if a game doesn't have good art, it's not really going to be fun. It's just how it is, really. Especially when you're starting out, as you can tell by Retired Knight. GIMP and Paint.net, editing. I personally use Paint.net. I'm just more familiar with it. I have a lot of friends who like to use GIMP, just preferences. Sprite, Graphic Scale, and Pickle. These are animation tools. I use Pickle. I used to use Graphic Scale. Pickle just has a cleaner user interface that I prefer. Everyone knows about Photoshop. And then Illustrator and Inkscape. These are great vector art programs. And so if you don't know the difference between vector and bitmap, now bitmap is pixelated, vector is mathematical, and so you can scale it to the size of a building and it would still have the same resolution. So it just depends on which kind of style you're going for. And so for programming, most engines come with some kind of editor. Unity, for example, uses MonoDevelop. I personally like Visual Studio when I'm working with larger projects, C++, C#, and then Visual Code and Sublime for Python, JavaScript, that sort of thing. And these are some frameworks. If you're not using an engine, Monogame, Phaser, Love, Flixel, and if you've taken 165, OpenGL. Some engines. So the most popular 2D ones are Construct 2 and GameMaker. I have a lot of friends who use GameMaker. They really like it. An example of what you can do with GameMaker, Hyperlight Drifter. It just came out not too long ago. Made with GameMaker. I know, mind blowing. Most popular 3D engines right now, Unity and Unreal. Unreal just became free to anybody. It uses C++. That's what we're all familiar with. Unity uses C#, JavaScript, Boo. Depends on your preferences. And then some other ones, Stencil, Pico 8, CryEngine. CryEngine is another popular 3D one. So that's that. Just a quick rundown of how you guys can get started. Now I'm going to open up Unity, start a new project, and I'm going to make a little Galaga-style game for you guys so you can see the workflow, how to get things set up. We're going to do some animation, sound effects, collisions, cool explosions, that sort of thing. Alright, so in the project where you want it to be, we're going to change 2D here. The only difference I've ever noticed in the past few years I've been working with it is that it just locks the camera perspective, which you can always change later. I want to include the Visual Studio's tools, so I can use Visual Studio. So the reason why I like using Unity so much as opposed to Windows updates. The reason why I like using Unity so much is because it has a more easy workflow. It has visual editors for animation. You don't have to do everything via code as you would most frameworks. So I'm going to explain this real quick. It may seem daunting at first, but once you just use it for a little bit, it becomes second nature. Over here we have the scene hierarchy. And this holds all of the objects in the scene. You don't need any light, it's 2D. So right now we have the camera. If you look over here, this changes the object inspector. It has all the components attached to the scene object. So we have a transform that holds the position, rotation, and scale of the object, and the camera component itself to make, just so we can use it as a camera. And down here we have the project hierarchy. Not really sure the difference between the two. I usually use this one just for like a more quick change. And here you can actually preview, say, sprites or audio files. And down here we have the console, so you can do debugging. This is where all the debugging happens. And up here you can also add your own windows. I have an animator up here and the animation tab down here. It's just personal preference, your own workflow style. Let's get started. Where did I put it? Nope. Oh, I put it on the desktop. Yeah. Alright. So we're going to create, let's call this sprite. And let's pull in our player. So now we can see the player here. And we're going to need to change some settings on it. So if you go over here, you can change it to a sprite. We don't want it to be a texture. And so when I change it to 32 as opposed to 100, that's pixels per Unity unit. So now I'm trying to force myself to keep to the consistency of 32 by 32 pixels per Unity unit. Don't want bitmaps. We want it to point as opposed to bilinear. Point just keeps it pixel. It doesn't try to blend them, so it's not fuzzy. And then true color. Now we want to edit it because there's multiple sprites here. So we have our ship. Oh, multiple. Because there's multiple sprites. Yeah, my bad. All right. There's our ship. There's our bullet. It's going to blow aliens up. So now let's go ahead and create a new 2D object in the scene. Just call it player. And so here we have the transform and the sprite renderer. We need to pick the sprite of the ship. So now we have a little ship. Oh, we need to change the background. So we go over to the camera, solid color. Let's make it black because it's in space. Oh yeah. Not red. Alright, so now we have a ship in space. But we want to see him, so let's change the scale. Player transform. There you go, much bigger. Cool. Alright, so now we need to add another component, make him 2D. Let's give him a box collider so that he can actually collide with the aliens and die and blow up and make good sound effects. And then time for some programming. We want to be able to move this guy. So let's create scripts and create a new C# folder. Call it just player. Why not? Player. Big L. Open this guy up. Might take a while.
Does Unity have tools to edit? To edit the pixels of sprites, or are there external tools that you use?
There are. I external tools. I like to use paint.net usually.
Okay.
Unity might, because it has an asset store where people can make plugins that you can download and put into your game. For example, I commonly use a tile editor, so I don't have to manually place each tile. I can just click on the sprite and then click on it and it'll lock it into place for me. For more tile-based games like RPGs. So there might be an asset where you can actually manipulate the sprites that way. I'm just not sure. What's great about game development is that a lot of software is free. Being students, we don't have a lot of money. We can't afford necessarily a Photoshop license. There's tons of software out there for free that you can use. Well, I guess I'll talk a little bit about game feel, the mysterious thing that no one really knows about, or new developers don't necessarily know how to use. Game feel is something that a lot of games lack. Just because a lot of people know about. So let's think about it this way. We're playing Mario 64. And so about every 2 hours you fight a boss. About every hour or so you go into a new painting. About every 5 minutes or so you do an objective. You collect red coins or something. But every moment to moment you're moving Mario. You're sliding, you're jumping, you're double jumping, you're jumping on things. And the reason why Mario 64 feels so good to play is because Mario feels good to play as, right? So the steps to get game feel right is to experiment a lot. Is to fiddle with the mechanics, fiddle with the physics of jumping, sliding, and then what also helps is if you're what was I going to say? I have that written down. Funny joke. Kind of ruined it. Oh yeah, be Miyamoto, you know, and then all of a sudden you have a masterpiece, right? That joke. So game feel is, here's a story. When they were working on Quake 3, the playstesters were complaining about a gun. Pew, pew, this gun's weak, it's terrible, it's the worst gun we've ever used in the game. Developers got it, and they said, okay, how can we make this gun better? They didn't change the code whatsoever. They added more bass to the sound effect, and they added screen shake. They gave it back to the players. Oh, this is the best gun I've ever used in my entire life. Nothing changed except for the feel of it. So it's the little things, it's the nuances, the more kinesthetic aspects of game development that if you use correctly, the game will feel a lot. We're going to get the ship to move. Alright, so let's do a private vector 2. Let's call this movement. Go here into update. Oh yeah, so Unity has some pre-built functions. For example, start, it runs when a scene starts, and then update runs each frame. So now we need to get movement equals new vector 2. And then in here, let's do get axis. And so Unity also has input already set up for you, which is nice. Of course, you can always change that. Alright, now we want to move this guy. Can everybody see this, or should I zoom in? Okay. Now we want to get the transform of the player, and we want to translate it. I want to move this guy. Oh, I forgot. Alright. So we want a public float for speed here. I'll show you why in a second. Sped. We want sped. And so we want to move the player according to the movement by the speed. We also want to multiply it by times.delta time. That's important here. We could use fixed update, which updates each physics cycle. But time.delta time here updates according to the refresh rate of the monitors, so the user experience is unanimous across all devices. Alright, so let's go back here. Let's add player script to the... Oh yeah, we have to save the scene first. Alright, so let's make a new folder, scenes. Let's just call it main. Alright, so the reason why I made speed public was so we can edit it here in the inspector and not have to go back to the code and make changes. Let's give him 7 and see how this works. Ah, look at that. We have our ship. See, look at that. 4 lines of code and we have a moving ship. Alright, but now so one big issue here is that now the ship can leave the camp. Oh yeah, asteroids like in GL. Terrible. Alright, so now we want to lock the position in the camera. And there are better ways to do this. This is not optimized whatsoever. Don't judge me. I'm just doing it quick. So let's do. It's weird not having a monitor. Alright, so now we're going to clamp the position. And we want to clamp the transform dot position X by the camera dot so we're getting the main camera now, the first camera in the scene. Transform dot position weird resolution. And then we also alright. So our camera is where's our camera? Okay, here's our camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 unity units. So we're going to trap it between -6 and +6. And I'm just going to copy and paste because it's every programmer's best tool. Just going to change these to Y. Alright, but our Y is different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 4.5. Alright, now we've locked our player ship according to the camera position. Can't leave it. Look at that. Cool. Alright, now we want to shoot stuff, right? Everyone likes to shoot stuff. So let's create a new 2D object. Let's call it a bullet. After all, it's a bullet. Let's give it sprite. We want to make it bigger so we can see it. Hey, there's our bullet so far. Look at that. Now we want to give this guy collider as well. Box collider. So I'm going to make a new script. Alright, so let's give this guy a public speed as well. And here let's just do transform.translate. We're not using any physics, which is awesome. Since it's only going to be moving up. I'm not done. Come again. Alright, now we need a place for the guns. So if we add an empty object to the player, call it left gun. Let's duplicate it. Let's call it right gun. How are we doing on time? Now we want to position these according to the ship. That looks good. Right gun looks good. And so since they are a child of the player's ship, they're going to move with the ship, so we don't have to worry about updating those positions. And one key here is that, let's create a new folder, let's call it prefabs. Prefabs are just objects that you have set up so that you can just spawn them in the scene. So now we have a bullet as a prefab. We go back to the player script. Let's do public game object, left gun, right gun, and bullet. So now we can assign those in the scene. We want to take some input. So if input dot get key down specifically, because if it's get key, it's going to register the down each frame, and you're going to fire like 1,000,000 bullets. I mean, that's cool, but
Totally undesirable.
all right. So with the space, so every good game uses a space bar for shooting. And we want to instantiate. Basically, you spawn the object. You're going to spawn the bullet at the left gun transform dot position, and we're going to keep its rotation. So it's just going to keep the same orientation that it spawned with. And we also want to do the right gun. Everyone loves dual shooting. All right. So now we have to assign the object. Oh, what is that? Oh, we didn't set the bullet speed. Okay. Or we didn't even assign the bullet script. That's cool. Oh, like 16. Awesome. So if we pause it, one big thing here is that now you have like 50 bullets, and they're just floating off into space. And so if you're playing the game for, say, an hour, it's going to lag, it's going to crash. That's a terrible experience.
Yeah, destroy them.
So you have to make one change. Now another Unity built-in function saves you a lot of work. You don't have to calculate the position based on if it's in camera view or not. Just do on became invisible. Now we're going to destroy the game object. Destroy the bullet as soon as it becomes invisible. So watch over here as I shoot bullets. Oh, look at that. Cool. But now we need something to shoot. We need to kill an alien. What game is fun without an enemy? Alright, so this is where we're going to do some animation. Remember, we have to do the settings, multiple, no bitmaps. Alright. So there's our little alien guy. Go over here. Set the alien sprite. Gotta make it big so we can see it. Where is it? There it is. Cool. Alright. So now this guy needs a rigid body. So the reason why he needs a rigid body is because in order to do collisions, one object at least needs it. So we don't want him to rotate, and we don't want any gravity, or else he's just going to fall on his own. He's not going to pay attention to us. Alright, now we don't have to touch it. Let's give him a box collider. Let's make it a trigger. And so the difference between a trigger and the non-trigger collider is that if two objects collide that aren't triggers, they're going to butt heads. But if one's a trigger, it can pass right through. We don't want the aliens to change the movement of the ship. We're just going to blow it up. Alright, so we go back to scripts. Let's create an alien script. Alright, let's use speed. Speed. Transform. Alright, so now the alien's going to just move down at the desired speed, but we want to handle collision. So let's do another built-in function. On trigger enter 2D. We need to pass in the collider of the object. So if the collider's game object has the tag of player or call it bullet. We're going to destroy it. Oh, we also want to destroy it if it leaves. Oh no, all right. So the thing about tags. So Unity has a thing called layers and a thing called tags. I usually just use the layers for raycasting, for determining which objects are visible. It's great for pathfinding. But the tags are to be grouped. Well, you can group objects together. For example, we're going to give the player the built-in tag of player, and we're going to create our own bullet. And we're going to add another one for future use called alien, for when the player needs to collide with it. So if we add the script alien to it, we're going to give it a speed of 4. Alright, so watch as the alien collides with the player. Just destroyed it. Alright, what's next? Animation. You need to have a death animation, right? So now we create a new folder for animation. Animation. And we need a controller. So Unity breaks up animations into 2 parts. The animations themselves and then the controller. The controller handles the animation. It determines if it's going to trigger the death animation, the shooting animation, the walking left, walking right. It's the brain of it. So we go over here to the alien controller. So we add the controller to the alien. Over here on the animation tab, you want to create a new animation. Just call it alien animation. I like 12 frames per second. It's easier to work with in my opinion. And now we drag the sprites onto the animation. Now if we test it in the scene, oh, look at that. Look at that. Alright. And now we need a death animation. Like the cool explosion. It's gonna get rocked. So the thing with animation is that up here there's a tool for so you can do slice and you can do automatic, or you can set the frame size with the buffer. But the reason why you don't necessarily want to do that all the time is because if the frames themselves are different sizes, when it animates, it'll move the image around based on the center point. And so if they don't all have the same center point, it just won't look good. So these ones are all 30 by 30. So we need a new animation. Just do it. Alien death. Alien death bracket. Alright. Nice progression of explosion. Alright. Alright, so if we come back, oh wait, not yet. So we have to go to the animator, so we have to handle the change in animation. So we have the normal animation, and we need to make a transition to the death animation, and we need a condition. So I'm just going to do a bool. We're going to do dead. This is dead. So we click on the transition. We want it to happen immediately, and so we need to change the settings a bit. We don't want it to last a fixed length, and we don't want the transition to last a fixed length, but we need to add the condition of it being true. So now the animation is going to happen when dead becomes true. So if we come back here, open up the alien, we can just do git component and get the animator tool. And we're going to set the bool dead to true. Now we also want the alien to stop moving, so we need to set the speed to 0. And we don't want to handle collisions anymore either. So we have to get the box collider component. I'm going to disable it. And now, at this point, if we leave it like this, the alien is just going to keep blowing up over and over and over and over and over again. We have to destroy it at some point. And so if we go back here, we can figure out the length here. So it's 3 frames. And so if we create a timer, which is, so this is actually C#. This isn't Unity specific. Let's do death timer. This is great for timing events like cutscenes, destroy timers, whatnot. So we have to return wait 4 seconds. Let's do 0. So we're going to wait 0.3 of a second, because that's how long the animation is. What am I doing? Alright, and then we're going to destroy the alien. Oh, the game object. Now we have to call it. We're going to start the coroutine. Sorry, I'm not going into the nuances or syntaxes of C#, just to make things a bit faster. Alright, now the alien is going to get wrecked. Let's do it. Make it big. What the heck? Oh.
No collision with bullets.
Yeah.
You have something that said you're dead when the bullets hit.
Oh, I didn't set the tag. Okay. Cool. Yes. All right. Now what's fun? So what's so fun about one alien? We have to spawn these guys, and this is actually easier than it sounds. So let's do alien spawner. All right. So let's make this alien a prefab, so we can spawn the crap out of it.
What does prefab stand for?
Prefabricated.
Yeah, like prefabricated objects, just objects that you have set up initially. So let's add the spawner to. Alright, the spawner is now on the camera. We need the game object alien. We're going to spawn this guy. Alright, so we're going to do another event, or another timed event. Alright, let's do it every 1.6 seconds. Alright, sounds good. And we're going to instantiate the alien. Now, new vector 2, we have to set the position. We're going to do random range. Let's see. Oh no, we don't need to put the camera because it's on the camera. We're going to transform dot position x minus 5. Yes. It's going to be plus 5. So we can see it. It's going to be transform dot position dot y, and we're going to set it above the view of the camera. Let's do plus 6. Oh yeah, we have to set the rotation. We're just going to keep the same rotation that it had when it was spawned. Alright, now I have to call this spawn timer here. We also need to call it in start, because when the scene starts, we want it to start spawning. Easy as that. Now I just have to assign the alien. As it pops up here. Look at that. End this game of fun. Right. So did you guys want to see like player death, restarting the scene, adding sounds, or are you guys good?
Sure.
Okay. So another thing with game feel, sounds are awesome, blow stuff up. So if we just create a new, and sounds is actually really easy. Nope, not that.
It's okay. okay if we move this closer to you?
Yeah.
So we want to create a new folder for sound. Let's get some music in there. So these sounds, bring them into the project. Alright, so we need to add an audio source to the camera. If you look here, it's going to play on awake, so as soon as the scene starts, it's going to start playing, but we want it to loop as well. Let's bring the background music in there. I hope audio is hooked up. Yeah. Alright. But we need to... Alright, so let's go back here. Player. We need a sound clip that we can play. Audio clip. Just call it shoot and die. Play a cool sound effect on death. Alright, so whenever we shoot, we want to get the audio component attached to the camera. The audio source. We want to play one shot of the shoot sound at full volume. So the volume is normalized, so it's on a scale from 0 to 1. We also want the alien to die. Let's give it a public. Public audio clip. Just call it sound. Alright. So let's do shoot. Oh, I forgot to do death. Oh well. That's fine. If you go to prefabs, select the alien, and down here you can alien death. Cool. So, I'm not going to worry about the player death animation, but what we can do, so you can keep playing, so if we just copy this guy right here, bring it to the player, and change this to alien. So now when the player collides with an alien, you can just do the scene manager. Oh, we have to include it. So up here, just add to the scene management library. We're going to load the. We're going to get the active scene, so the current scene, build index of that, because the load scene accepts int, the index. So now when we die, we can just keep playing. Oh, you have to set the tag on the alien. Aha. It's nothing fancy. So yeah, in 30 minutes you can have this up and running. It's pretty cool. It took me probably about a year before I was comfortable using Unity and all the tools, because it is really broad. There's a lot you can do with it. Typically 3D is what it's used for. For 2D, it's easier to work with. You don't have the third dimension. The physics is a lot easier to work with. So yeah, that's Unity. Make games. It's cool.
Sorry guys, Matthew had to leave to go support his wife at the Research and Creative Works conference. But that's it. Thanks for being an active participant in ACM this semester. If you have any feedback, let us know. Get on Slack. We'd love to hear from you, any ideas that you have. And that's it. Have a good day. Good luck on finals.